Need to get this thing going. Thank you all for coming out in the snow. I wasn't expecting that. All right, we got a lot going on tonight, so I'm going to be very brief. Who all's been here to Post 370 for the first time? First time. Welcome. Thank you all for being here. Thank you all for being here. And to everybody who's been here before, welcome back. We appreciate you coming. This is the American Legion Post 370. The American Legion is the largest veteran service organization in America, and Post 370 is the largest post in Kansas. So welcome to the largest post in Kansas. If you're interested in becoming a member of the American Legion, please see me or one of our other members here in the room. We got some other American Legion members right here. What post you from? 189 Lee Summit. Great post down there if you're from the Missouri side. And 149 also. What other post do we have here? Is that it? All right, we appreciate everybody being here tonight. Without further ado, I am going to say one more thing, though. Please follow us on Facebook. We post a lot of information on Facebook, so does F.I.S.H. So you want to make sure you know what's coming up and what has happened recently, all right? So follow us on Facebook, please. And at this time, I'm going to turn it over to the founder of F.I.S.H., Paul Chapa.
Thanks, everyone, for being here. Yes. All right, so we always start our events off right. So we're going to start off with the prayer. So I'm going to ask Chief Sanford to come on up, say a prayer, and then your son is going to lead us in the pledge.
Let's go to the Lord. God, thank you for this wonderful night. Thank you for the wonderful brotherhood that we have in this hall and in this group named F.I.S.H. We are friends, and we all feel the service and heroes for heroes. God, protect us as we go about our days in this wonderful winter land of snow and very frigid temperatures. Please protect those homeless veterans, especially, and all homeless people that are out toughing it out through this weather. And God, we want to ask for special protection and guidance for all of our leaders and our political people in our lives in this time of world and country strife. Keep us strong in your light and protect us as we go about our days. In your name we pray. Amen.
Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Come on. There we go. All right, all right. Some of you that have been here before know what's going on. But who has not been here before? Raise your hand. See your hand. Outstanding. I love it. I love it. All right, so here we go. I want to hear from the Army. That is outstanding. All right. Marine Corps. They're all up front, except for you, ma'am. Outstanding. Outstanding. Navy. That's pretty good, Bill. No, there's a few of you. That's great. That's fantastic. All right. Air Force. That's strong. That's representing. Coast Guard. It is. Coast Guard? Coast Guard? All right, here's one. Space Force? It's going to happen. It's going to happen. Listen, we're so glad, like Chief said, that you guys weathered the snow and the elements to be here tonight, because we're going to have an amazing evening. This is about fellowship. This is about education. This is about fun. You're going to meet new friends, make new friends. It's going to be a great night. So let me tell you a little bit about F.I.S.H, if you don't know anything about Friends in Service of Heroes. Our purpose is to honor our community, recognize and honor and learn about our heroes, those that are nation's defenders. We want to honor our veterans and share and assist amongst that brotherhood. Next slide, please. So, 2023 was a lot of fun. How many of you came to the Christmas party? Oh, was that something? That was absolutely amazing. So let me tell you what we did in 2023, though. Just a little recap. 3 service dogs, life changers, life savers, 3 track chairs, 4 mobility chairs, 1 vehicle ramp, 14 families received rental assistance, mortgage assistance, utility assistance, 3 veterans received flights home. I mean, they just come off missions, came home, and they were stuck at Wheaton. And you guys, because of your help, we got to send them home. 40 families, 71 children received Christmas card gifts. Some great pictures right there. Some of you might recognize number 83, Noah Gray, great friend of F.I.S.H. We thought he was going to be here tonight, but his wife Mary's pregnant, so staying home. It's snowing out there. F.I.S.H sent food to 2 Army bases, Fort Riley, 3 actually, because Leavenworth, and also Jeremiah and Luis. They went out to Fort Leonard Wood and delivered a bunch of food out there. That was fantastic. Nancy's Pantry. Is George here? I don't see George. So George Hahn, his wife, years ago, started feeding some troops over in the Osawatomie area, Paola area. And, you know, we lost her a little over a year ago, and we've continued her mission of feeding our troops in that area. And so total sum, $114,000. For an all-volunteer group that gets no federal funding or state funding, that's huge. I think that's amazing. Thank you. Our Christmas party, well, we had 450 people here. It was packed. And I'm claustrophobic. I don't know about you guys, but I kept running out that door because I could barely breathe. But we had so much fun. So much fun. What's so cool about it was, you know, you veterans, you know how you are. You're never going to ask for help. That's where the term fishing came from. We go fishing. We find you. We kind of start reeling you in, find out what your real need is, what you really is going on in your life, and then we supply it. So we had all these families that came from all over the state, in Missouri. They were voluntold to be at the Christmas party. When Santa called their name, they came up with their kids. Our elf, Noah, handed them an envelope. And inside that envelope, there was between $500 and $1,500 so they could go shop for their children. Not a stranger buying gifts for someone's kid, but mom and dad buying gifts for their own children. I think that's really powerful, so thank you. So, a lot of great pictures from that event. Yeah, so Dana Hughes, he's on the radio every Chiefs game. You know, 106.5, he came. Chris Penn, and our buddy. Oh my gosh, this guy is just absolutely unbelievable. He comes every year and performs for us. And Noah and Mary signing autographs. Rob Carson right here. If you don't know the name Rob Carson, he's on Newsmax every Saturday night. What in the World with Rob Carson? And oh yeah, thank you, Dan. Yeah, so at the end of the night, Noah and Mary says, hey, let's draw some names and we'll take 2 families shopping. And so that was on a Thursday night. Here we are on Monday, and true to their words, they took 2 families shopping, and it was a blast. It was absolutely fantastic. There they are right there, yeah. After a loss and everything, Dan, he still had a smile on his face. But anyway, so that was really fantastic. And again, and that was all 2023. So 2024, was it last Saturday? We got a call from my friend Dan. Where's Dan? There's Dan over there. He's got a great band, Bound and Determined. Hey, come out to this place out in Archie, Missouri. What was the fishing what? The fishing dock. Hey, it makes sense for fish to go to the fishing dock and listen to a great band. So my buddy Chris, wherever he's at, yeah, we karaoke'd all the way down to Archie, Missouri, go to the fishing dock, and we're listening to this great band. But all of a sudden, one of our guys, Andy, where's Andy? Andy says, hey, there's a veteran right behind us. And we turned around. Sure enough, that vet had dog tags hanging from his neck. And we got to know him. So John Sword is here tonight. Thanks for coming all the way from Drexel, Missouri, John. We're going to be talking to you a lot. We're going to be talking to you even more. But so with that, with that. So one of our fish, Lee Kibbles, officer in Olathe Police Department, he's doing a big ride. Here's something that a lot of you may not know. 24% of enlisted military families experience food insecurity. It's my understanding, and you can correct me, but this is what I've been told. If you're a sergeant with a family, you're probably on SNAP, getting food stamps. It should not be that way. It shouldn't be that way. So Lee's going to do a ride. There's a QR code that we'll keep up at the end if you want to get involved with Lee to help raise more money. We're going to feed more troops. Oh, hey, and if you were here for Christmas, you remember our friend Mo Plenty. Yellowstone? Mo brings plenty. There he is. He's in the back. There's Mo. There's Mo. Hey, Mo, come on up a second. Man, we're so thrilled to have Mo. First of all, it's Christmas, wanted to share a message, and he got caught in the storm and didn't make it. But, you know, we got the video. Yeah, we got the video. But here he is in person. He wanted to share something with you guys.
First of all, I just want to say thank you, each and every one of you, for your service and for what you have done for the freedom of this country. And, you know, everywhere I travel, we see a lot of vets. And there's one thing that I'm always thinking, how can I change things? What can I do to change something? And trust me, veterans are always on my mind. Law enforcement's always on my mind. You know, the things that matter in this country is always on my mind. And every once in a while, I get an opportunity to speak to some political individual. And I say, and I let them know that something needs to be done for the veterans in this country who sacrificed so much to give us the freedoms to not just remain here in this country, but also to open businesses in other countries. And so, thank you. And again, you're always in my thoughts and you're always in my prayers. And I will continue to do all that I can to be a voice and support how I can and where I can. So thank you all very much and have a blessed evening. Thank you.
How about that? Mo, you going to stick around afterwards? So, you know, yeah, absolutely. Fantastic. All right, so next month, Kansas City Chiefs fans, we're going to have John Lowemeyer that's going to be our speaker. And John's really excited about coming out and sharing a story and talking to you guys. In the month of March, we're going to have another Vietnam veteran pilot that's going to join us that's written a book. And that's going to be a lot of fun. But tonight, we have an incredible young man that I swear he cannot be as old as he says he is because he's really young to me. This guy, we met about a year and a half ago. And like so many vets, it takes a little coaxing, doesn't it, Smitty? It takes a little coaxing to finally get you up here to share your story. And every one of you has a story. And these stories, this place is a place of healing where you guys can come and share these stories. People are going to listen. You know, they're not just tuning you out. They're listening. We're listening. We hear you. We want to know your story. It's like taking a stone out of your rucksack each and every time. So, without further ado, because I know he's got a lot to say, my buddy Rick Wheaton.
We need to do that again. Good evening. Woo! All right. I want to appreciate everybody here coming out like you did tonight and everything else, especially with the weather like it is. And I want to, you guys know what an Aero Scout is. A lot of you know what an Aero Scout is. Vietnam Aero Scout. Before I get into that, I want to give props to Colonel Hugh Mills. He's spoken here before, and he set the standard for all the Aero Scouts out there. He was so good, the Army gave him his helicopter. I'm still waiting for mine. Yeah. But anyway, I grew up in southeast Kansas, not too far from here, in a place called Fredonia. If you go through there and you have allergies and you sneeze, you don't see a doggone thing. You know, it's like that. And I grew up hunting, fishing, doing all that stuff, and helped feed the family and all that. And all of these things led up to some of the things that I did in the military. I grew up shooting and tracking and all that. An Aero Scout, okay, original Magnum PI. Everybody know that one with TC? TC on there was an actual helicopter pilot, civilian. And some of you know that the caps that they wore was a homage to a special ops team with the Marines. And I found out some years ago, like with one of my friends back there, I can't say his name, he's hiding, right? So anyway, that we, with what we did in Vietnam as Aero Scouts, we were special ops. I mean, why weren't we? We were going places when we weren't there. I'm talking about them tonight because it's declassified. Okay. But before I did that, I started out as a turbine engine repairman. And I grew up working on old cars. How many people know what a flathead Ford is? Yeah, my favorite engine. And so working on model cars and things like that. And that was one of the things that got me into the military. And got me into the military. And so I didn't think about it much, but when I went in as a turbine engine specialist. Realized later on when I was working on Otters, fixed wings with the radial engine, that remembered stories with my dad. He had worked on C-47s when he was in World War II in Guam. I mean, amazing. And so I wish I'd have asked him a whole lot more questions. But you can see how technology went from the radial engine to turbine engines and everything else that they're doing now. And so with that, and then I'm going to be bouncing around, going back to turbine school, those of us that graduated top 50% in the class, it was at that time the Army was needing a whole lot of people in military specialties, whether it's airframe, powertrain, turbines, or whatever. And so I did that, and those of us that graduated top 50 went on to extra training, and we got training in leadership and critical thinking. So remember that critical thinking part. I'm going to tell you a story about it here pretty soon. And so that's helped my life a whole lot. So once the RIF, reduction in force, was happening in Vietnam, I was going from unit to unit. And so when I left the fixed wing company, I went to the 240th Assault Helicopter Company. And how many people know in here about Nui Ba Din? Black Virgin Mountain. Yeah. Cut us in half and count the rings, right? We've been around for a while. But we staged out of there and worked across the fence a lot, most of the time. And so we all know that now as Cambodia. And from history, do anybody remember when sappers went in and blew up the refinery in Phnom Penh? And it's been declassified. But we went in dark the next day without a net. And one of the things we had to do was black out all the helicopters, pull names off of our flight uniforms and everything else. And so if a couple of people compromised the mission, don't know what happened to them, but maybe they didn't get to go. But we went in dark with no idea. If we'd have gotten caught, it would have been plausible denial. No Americans were there. And we were the command and control on the Hewitt. And as a crew chief, my job is to keep the bird airworthy, make sure all the maintenance is done, and make sure it's ready for whatever flight that we're going on. So somehow, a lot of times, my bird was the command and control bird, which means somebody's out there running the whole thing that we're doing, the whole mission. And so another Huey, piloted another Huey, calls to ours to talk to the command and control officer and said, the door gunner has to go to the bathroom. And remember the critical thinking training? The command and control officer said, we can't land. There's only so many Americans on the ground at one time. And I'm going, let me latch on to that. And so the bird with the door gunner that had to go to the bathroom hovered. We were out of anti-aircraft range at that point. And we hovered. And I'm looking around. And so I look around the transmission tunnel on the Huey. And he had gotten out on the Huey and put his arm through the pilot's door in that column there and dropped trowel. And I'm laughing my butt off because I see the crew chief go, I know what he said. He didn't want a golden shower like that. You know? So that was what was happening with it. And a little bit later, and we had all of these Hueys full of infantry, ARVN troops, Vietnamese military, in case we did engage. And then later on, we got a call that said, we can land now. Another flight has taken off that had as many as us. And my critical thinking training went to say, they said something about troops on the ground. Always read the fine print on contract. They didn't say a doggone thing about being in the air, did they? And we were everywhere. We were everywhere that day. And I'm going to show you some pictures here pretty soon. But eventually, I went to back to the Magnum PI helicopter. How many people know what kind of bird that was? OH-6 little bird, right? And so that's my favorite bird right there. And I was telling somebody the other day, one time we were on all of these different missions across the fence. And one time I was in training. I was in front left seat on a Huey, on the OH, a hunter killer team. You got a Huey overhead, military intelligence and our CIA in there, and you have a medic on board. And they're out of anti-aircraft range. They're spotting. Cobra gunship, the Snake, is lower, tighter altitude. Okay, we would fly NOE, nap of the earth, and I'm sitting in the back on the floor on a ceramic chicken plate facing out. I've got a survival knife, a 38, and a shoulder holster, a beefed up M60, and all kind of hand grenades and all this stuff right there, an assault rifle. So you can imagine what kind of stuff we got into. And we did what the cavalry scouts did, but we did it from an aerial platform, hence Aero Scout, A-E-R-O. I see some people nodding their heads, and I see somebody from Post 149 looking at a lot of different things out there too. But anyway, so our job was to expose the enemy. And so we would fly low enough to expose them, have them fire at us, and hope we could go home. I tell people now, when I wake up in the morning, I look in the mirror, I recognize that, I grab these and shake them and don't fall off, and I just laugh. Because like a lot of y'all out here, it's good to be home, isn't it? Yeah, yeah. See? But I remember front left seat, we were flying over an NVA base camp. And it was maybe twice as high as this. 2 Americans in cages. We were so low. If we'd have dropped a little bit lower, the NVA officer running in front of us, we could have thumped him in the head. I mean, he was running to get his weapon because we came in so low that they didn't know where we were. Amazing. And so that was a tough one because it was slated next day, maybe that night, for them to do bomb runs and wipe out that whole encampment. Somewhat sobering, isn't it? Yeah. And another time when I was crewing Huey's, we were, and actually, a whole bunch of times, all coming back, and this is good. Crewing Huey's, there was a unit. I had gone to the, no, it's still in training for the F.I.S.H. And I had been in the 240th Assault Helicopter Company. And what was interesting was, it was people from that unit. The helicopter had been shot down. And what happened is there was ashes in the shape of a Huey down there. And me being a former turbine guy, I knew that lump was the engine. And they had been surrounded with a whole bunch of Viet Cong coming after it. So we had 3 hunter-killer teams out there, you know, the Huey, the Snake, and the Little Bird searching. So 3 teams, and let's say this podium is a grid, and we were in the AO, area of operations. So we were all searching an area. And the guy, because on a hunter-killer team, at least in our unit, we had if an officer was front left seat, they were training to be an aircraft commander for the F.I.S.H. But if it was an enlisted most of the time, they were a spotter on that side. And the pilots would always do everything they could to teach you how to fly that helicopter. Because if you got shot, you couldn't crawl over that bulkhead because the crew chief was back in the back. And so I got some stick time doing that. But as we're going along, I'm watching. I'm listening to, we have a headset on. I'm listening to the crew chief. He's tracking. I've got blood, 2 hours old, flying around. I've got blood. Ooh, hour. I got some blood, 20 minutes. And what happened is thunderheads are coming in. 20-minute fuel lights getting ready to come on. Anybody know, and I don't know about fixed wing, but when you have 20-minute fuel light comes on, you better heat it. And so the flight commander said, we have to get out of here. And so we had to go back up top. We're flying along, and somebody from another bird breaks silence and says, I will buy you a so-and-so helicopter. We're going to go back and get those people. And you could hear a cheer. So we go back down, everybody's searching their area. And the crew chief in our unit, Bravo 317 Stogie Scouts, hunter-killer teams, was the crew chief was called the Torque. And he says, I got some blood. It's dry. I got some blood, 10 minutes. There they are. And so Huey comes down and extracts them. We don't have the payload because we're overloaded almost anyway, and they got them out of there. And as they're going through, it was pretty interesting because as we're going through, you could see those thunderheads coming in and squeezing the helicopter. Never give up, right? Ooh. Just plain okay. It's all good. But all of this stuff helped me in my career. I spent 39 years in broadcast TV. Anybody in here ever see Kansas City Crossroads? Yeah, some of you know about it. I shot the first Crossroads. There were like 3 or 4 of us that did that. And we all got Emmys out of it for what we did. And it was anytime you have your heart into something, the regional Emmy, anytime you have something, whatever it is, with your heart in it, you can make it work, aren't you? Yeah. Yeah. So all of that training helped me see things that most people didn't see. I had 11 years TV news. And I remember one time somebody ran off the road on the street, ran into a house. And everybody was driving, and it was at night. And everybody was driving past the house. And one of the guys from the station came out there. All of a sudden he said, "How did you find that?" Somebody laughed. "Yeah, you know how. You tracked it." If somebody's driving a car off of a yard, you can see what the tire prints are. Yeah. Something to look at. Another time, it was someplace in Vietnam, I think, called the Razorback. And it looked to me for we were just a bunch of mud and stuff. And we had all these Hueys, and I was crewing one then. We had all these Hueys out there looking around for something. And we got bored, so we started flying in formation, like the Blue Angels or whatever, doing all this stuff. And I'd never seen one before, but there was a rainbow that was a complete circle. And we flew through that thing. There's some good memories there. Yeah. It's, life's amazing. Another thing I did for 21 years, because I couldn't save all the lives in Vietnam, I became a certified motorcycle rider coach. Because giving back to your community is an extraordinary thing. We all know that. I mean, look at Paul. Look at the guys and ladies over here. Look at everybody else. You give back a lot of times more than you get back. Yeah. And it's amazing. And I had a knack for peeking out people that had been abused. And it was interesting because a lot of people share things with me, which is good and sometimes bad. And so the interesting thing is there's a lot of help that I was able to do not only in the motorcycle industry, saving lives, but save some lives from men and women that had been beat up and some other things that had happened out there. So there's so much. So let me see, get this thing going. Oh, let me do this. I'm a photographer, right? And I should have 1 million pictures. And I do. Just couldn't find most of them. But this is me right here when I went to the 240th Assault Helicopter Company. And that was the bird that I started crewing on. Of course, this is me doing whatever I do somewhere. Some of you see me around there doing stuff. And over here, this is an OH-58 sitting in the door, because that was a unit that I was in when I was, that was a unit I was in when I was getting ready to come back to the world, the United States. That one of the big differences, Vinny's chrome now. Okay. Still the same thing. I'm not one of those people where my hair stayed here and my head kept going on. Okay. Bitches Brew. Anybody into jazz? Miles Davis? Yeah. Yeah, that was got clearance so I can get this done, and had that done and changed over right there. And that's the one, I don't know what that village was, because half the time, I don't know, at least myself and maybe Dorganer didn't know where we were. So, somebody said Peter Pan. But you can see the mountain, you can probably, right here, where we had the 60. And that brings up another story, where we had, I'll start right there. We had another story. We go out. myself, you had the pilot, co-pilot, crew chief, and door gunner. We're flying along, and we see a sampan in an area that it didn't have clearance. And so I get clearance to light them up with an M60. So I'm lighting it up, shooting it at it with an M60. I know it's hitting it. And then I said, I got a jam. And I said, go around. The pilot goes around. Door gunner's firing. Got a jam. I said, clear. Comes around to my side. Firing it. Got a jam. So we get out of there. And I'm going, this is crazy. So we're flying along, and I look around the transmission tunnel to the door gunner side. There's a Chinook, same altitude as we are. So I key the mic, and I said, we got a hook at 3 o'clock. Go down. Well, the pilot had it under control. So we checked each other. We were a team, which is way cool right there. And then we get the 20-minute fuel lights on, because where I sat as a crew chief on the Huey, on the back left side, I could see where the pilot, the aircraft commander was, and the orange light on the dash. And it was on, and we're flying to refuel. We're moving along, and we get a call to medevac some Arvins that had been, one of them had been wounded in an ambush. So we go in on my side, and I have an M60 that won't work. And so with body language, and you heard the term young and dumb. We go in on my side, and with body language, I uncradle the M60, and I'm sitting there doing like this. And they get him on, he's bleeding. We take him to the hospital, medevac hospital. Luckily, we found out it was a mechanical device, booby trap. And so we refuel, we go back. I'm putting my bird to bed. Door gunner's cleaning his weapons. And I walk back to the barracks with him. My room's here, flight schedule's here. And we're standing there, and I said, I know what you did today. And he looks at me. He said, what do you mean? I said, oh, what you did. I figured out what you did. He did that. He had pulled the wick out of a Vicks inhaler and filled it full of heroin. And I told him, I said, you're not flying with me or anybody else again. I didn't threaten him. I didn't raise my voice. And found out the next day it scared him so bad that he went and talked to the old man, and they dealt with it. So putting all of this stuff together, and there's a bunch of stories there, putting all this stuff together makes me realize, and I know it with you guys and ladies here too, sometimes we don't realize how much we've accomplished. Sometimes we don't realize what we can accomplish or where we can go and do. And that's what's amazing right there. Let's see what comes up next. Oh, right there. And they used to... and there we go. They used to tease me because it's supposed to say soul bird, but they said, well, that's suey bird. I said, leave me alone, man. Okay. When I got out of, like I told you, turbine school, basic and advanced. Advanced since it was accelerated, and like I said, training in leadership and critical thinking and more turbine theory, is in a few, probably less than a year it was, we came out Spec 5, all of us within critical assignments with it. Later on, converted to hard strike. And no, I'm not high right there. There's that M60 again. This one works. And so all of this stuff right here, all the different smoke grenades. And speaking of smoke grenades, when we were on the hunter-killer teams, any medics in here? We're corpsmen or medics, depending on what you're in, right? Where at? Rock on. You folks, we call them, out of respect, old no birds. Old no birds. Because most of them at the time were conscientious objectors. They would get on the Huey, sit down, put their back next to the radio console, 1,000 yards there, right? Put the carabiner hook into the cargo loop on the floor of the Huey. They had the dock kit, red, yellow, green. And I found out, my neighbor Pete and I were riding bicycles one day and ran into some people and had the same thing happen to them. But they would fast rope out, and once they got them patched, and I didn't have to do that when I was crewing the Huey, but some people did. If they popped a green, it said, as far as I can tell, no insurgents are in the area. If they popped a yellow, give a suppressing fire in the direction of the smoke. They're coming after. They're 50 yards out, right? But if they popped a red, that I learned to call the death red, come and kill us in whatever manner before they capture us and torture us to death. So an Ono bird, and I'm going straight up street right here, has feet this long and a scrotum this much below it. And every time it lands, it goes, oh no, oh no, oh no. That's it. Because you've got to have some stones to do something like that. So, props. Another one. You can see the cargo loops. It's like we had just taken off or something right there. Once again, a lot of these places I don't remember. And that was my view right there in the back seat. I know I have some from another film box, but we were working across the fence from Black Virgin Mountain, Nui Baden, and one of the helicopters, one of the Hueys, had the skids shot basically off of it. And the drive shaft for the tail rotor was like a 51 cal or something had gone through it. But I know I have pictures of it where he landed, and the pilot came in and hovered while everybody got off, and then gently set that bird down as it collapsed on those skids that were set. So they got into some serious heat right there. Some of the pilots with Sui bird. This was the company that I was in when I first went over there, Otter Air Service, the Otter, de Havilland Otter, I think it was. Huh? Is that what it is? Yes, love those radio engines. Yeah, of course, you know, sometimes, I don't know if it's courageous or not having good sense, but I like a little crazy once in a while. So I figured out one day, I'm working on it, and I said, I'm on a taxi one of these. So I went into the manual, figured out how to start it without blowing the jugs off of it and adjusting the magneto. And taxied it about 6 inches, started off and pushed it back. You know? So, but it was, they would do all kinds of things. Take locals, supplies, whatever. This is one from the 240th Assault Helicopter Company. A lot of times we were able to, as long as we had the logo, I had my name for my helicopter put on that patch right Stogie Scouts, Hunter Color Team, Bravo 317. I mean, to this day, I mean, I love the sound of a Huey, but I really love the sound of the little bird right there. And I know some of you folks out here probably love the sound of both of them. A lot of different things right there. Yeah, I have not ridden on one of those. Those fascinate me, but anything like that fascinates me. And there's a Facebook page, and I was able to get that from the 240 Assault Helicopter Company, that challenge coin right there. And then some of these, I apologize for some of these because I hadn't seen them in over 10 years, and some of them had gotten flooded and everything. And so I'm in the process of getting some new stuff there. And I always loved, I think most anybody that wears wings or whatever we did, we love those. And that one, that was a night mission. That one we can't talk about, it wasn't declassified. That's it. That's say what? There's so many memories, not all of them bad. Not all of them bad right there. Isn't it? Called life, isn't it? That's what we do with it. And that's one of the things that's so important about F.I.S.H. is it's a place to come and talk to, a place that people understand you. Because corporate America doesn't understand a lot of us that have been in the military that know how to think for ourselves, and they don't know how to deal with it. Because I remember when I was in corporate America, I talked to a corporate psychologist one time, and I said, "What's wrong with this company?" But he said something that I never will forget. Math is not my strong subject. But he said, "Rick," he didn't call me Loach at the time, he didn't know that. But anyway, he said, "Rick, a lot of times it'll take 100 years for them to change. And my math skills were not strong enough to figure out I didn't have that much time." You know? So, yeah, I need help. I know. Yeah, my wife's a retired special ed teacher. I think she married me for a project, you know. Her work is cut out. But groups like this and Post 149 back there have helped me in this post, a lot of these posts, go and say, you know what, this is kind of cool. We got people that understand. We have people that run into the fire. And even some of us that served, that never ran into the fire, they did great. I was watching a documentary years ago, long time ago, and it said 20% of the people, this is a little bit after the Vietnam War, only 20% of the people at that time saw combat. But also made me think 80% didn't. Those of us that did that couldn't have done what we did without that 80%. I don't care what a person did. And it's that support that counts. Any questions? Hang on. Paul's coming with the mic.
A quick question. When you went out on the mission, did you need permission to fire your weapon?
In most cases, yes. And I don't have a problem with that. But there were other times that we knew going in that it was hot. And so we would be hot as we went in. Here, another story is like we were working an area, and I told you how the Huey's overhead, the snake is down here, and we're down here. And the snake and the Huey see smoke coming out of a bush along the plain. It's like, is somebody cooking in there or something? I don't think they're barbecuing. So we go in, and so we had clearance to do whatever we needed to do. And I'm going in, and I'm lighting that bush up. And all at once I hear, break left. And I immediately did like this here. The snake, loach goes around like this here. And the snake was inbound and shot a rocket into it, flechettes, the ones that look like nails with little fins on them. We were so close we got shrapnel off the bush and stuff right there. And so sometimes instinctively, you may or may not know when to fire. A lot of people do. And another time we were flying in an area, and this is toward the end. I got out in 72, so toward the end, we were working in an area, and I was talking to Colonel Mills about this a while back when Larry surprised me and had him come to our PTS meeting. And he showed up, and he and I had met a few times earlier, but I was telling him about an area, and at that time, I was full crew chief. And so we're going in, and we fly over this place. We're like maybe this high up, and we're flying along, and they said, you're taking fire at the 6th. And we're all three of us in that bird are reading the terrain. But what we figured out at that point was that the spider holes are so well entrenched that you couldn't tell that close to the ground. And so when we went by, they started firing at us. So going back to the bush, we figured out, at least it looks like they may have taken every 5th tracer out. Because communists, as far as I know, are using green tracers. So why else would smoke be coming out of it? And you've seen the big metal grates that are in city streets that take the water off the street. I found one of those in the middle of a growth. Why the hell was that out there? And talking to Colonel Mills, he said, it sounds like you were at, and I can't remember what he said, but it was at this place where there was a whole bunch of tunnels there, which makes sense because it was probably an air hole. But when we were, like I said, I'm bouncing around. When we went back where the spider holes were, it was an overcast day. And the clouds coming in, right? All at once, the sun breaks through and goes just like this. And the Loach pilot says, mark. He said mark because he saw a copper glint. What did that tell him? There's a radio antenna. Because there was a tree there, and I think another one about here. There's a radio antenna. Because I can't remember, I know the intel was, I don't know if it was 110th NBA or something like that, but we had going in to get more intel. So with them firing, we know something was down there underground. Go ahead. Any other questions?
Just out of curiosity, did you ever, during your time in Vietnam, go to a USO show or have any free time in Saigon or anything like that?
You know, I had a chance to go to USO shows, and for some reason, I didn't. At that time in my life, I mean, going on missions, like with a 9-second life expectancy and 1 in 6 of us made it back, I would rather do that and ask a woman out for a date. You know, I was so shy. And I told a guy that one time, and he said, "There's some scary women out there." Good question. No, not now. But he's a former rider coach also. And that's one of the things that helped me get through that. Is if you're in front of people and doing stuff like that, you learn how to pivot. You do what we did in the military in a lot of cases. You learn how to pivot.
Rick, I'm just curious if on the nighttime, just sleeping, did you have trouble sleeping or getting rest? Did it bother you? Did you have nightmares or anxiety about the next day or what's coming up, future mission or anything like that?
You know what? Not really. I tell people I have to be one of the luckiest Air Scouts out there. The name of the helicopter that I had, the F.I.S.H, the name of it was Patches because it had these little round aluminum circles on it that were bullet holes that had been patched up. And I didn't. However, mine started showing up later in life, like some other vets. Some of the PTSD, some of the anxiety and stuff later in life, because sometimes we suppress it, don't we? And it's like, okay, get help. I mean, sometimes we're 10 feet tall and bulletproof. Sometimes we're 9'12". Think about that. Dimensionally, it's the same. But in all reality, it's not even close, right? Reach out and get some help. There's no shame in it. And there's so much we can give back to our families and community when we do get those things looked at. And I know with the abilities that I learned to de-escalate a situation has worked with me a lot of times in my life. Why do you need to go? Like, as an example, Richard Grissom was in prison for killing the 2 young ladies years ago. I covered a bunch of those murder trials and other things when I was there. And we're all assigned a guard. And it's my time, our time, with the guard that I was with and myself to go get lunch. So we go there. And he said, "Rick, I want to tell you something. The majority of people in here are in here for crimes that made them go crazy. Emotional crimes. And they killed somebody or maimed them or something. Because they caught their wife or girlfriend in bed." It's like, is it worth it? I know things can trigger. But I've learned some things, and my wife can tell you too, is that, and I tell people that sometimes when you point your finger at somebody else or something and say that's the problem, maybe it's something here that I need to look at. And me being a rider coach too, is when I got certified through Motorcycle Safety Foundation, I learned how to work with personality. When Harley came on board, I learned how people learn. And those things work together, and I sent myself to success seminars and leadership seminars. Those things helped me de-escalate and work on things that a lot of people don't do. And they're there. Take advantage of it.
So Rick, would you go back up in the Huey or a Little Bird?
Would I go back up on a Huey?
Or Little Bird?
Hell yeah.
Okay, how about in September, Larry? Doesn't the CAF have a few coming? You want to tell us about that?
Friends of Army Aviation out of Fort Rucker. They're going to have 2 Hueys in the Kansas City area that first week in September out at New Century Airport. And they're going to have rides, so you can go up. They're going to be here for 2 days or 3 days. So he's going to put the word out through May even let you fly it.
Oh, I'd love that.
It's called Friends of Army Aviation is the group. They're out of Alabama. Coming up
Thank
with
you.
2 live flyable Hueys.
Okay, great.
Well, I know we have a lot of pilots in here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, I know we do have more than one. Raise your hands if you're a pilot. You piloted in Vietnam. Look at this. 1, 2. Keep your hand up. 1, 2, 3. Or pilot. I know, pilot. 1, 2, 3. Come on. Yeah,
Hey,
at least
hey.
3 of you. 4, Mark Morgan. 4. Hey, Rick, thank you so much for being out here tonight and joining us. Are there any more questions for Rick? Any more questions at all? Oh, in the back again. Okay, hold on. Hold on, Rick. You got it?
For me personally, I was there to fight for every American so they could have freedom and inclusion. I'm not there to change what they think, because how many of us like that in a lot of ways? Did it bother me? No. But when somebody put their hands on me, that's a whole nother thing. I tell people, if we're in a hot situation with my training and somebody starts something crazy, follow me. You get one hand like this, you get a stance, bend at the waist, and move in rapid succession. Why get, enough is enough. It's got to end sometime. Yeah. And I want to thank my lovely wife. You want to stand up? Yeah. Lorraine Taylor Wheaton. And some of you have heard her and her band, Green Shoebox Band. I don't do shout-outs, do I? Green Shoebox Band here in Kansas City. They didn't open for the Doobie Brothers, but they played an hour before them. So I appreciate what she does, and my friends, all of these people here, and the rest of you guys. I mean, so much. It means so much right here. And this is a family. What did Kermit say? It ain't easy being green, or whatever color uniform you're going to wear. That's right.
How about a hand for Rick?
Woo! Thanks, man. Appreciate it. Okay.
You got to get a fish shirt now too.
There we go.
You can wear that under your Little Bird t-shirt.
Little Bird t-shirt. Appreciate it, man.
Yes.
Okay.
All right.
I'm gonna take
Rick
this back
Wheaton.
here.
Yeah, let's give that to Dan. Wasn't that awesome? That's what this is all about. That's what this is all about, Kevin Clark. One of these days we'll get you up here. But hey, I see a friend of mine, Paul. Paul, thanks for coming all the way down from Raytown. Thank you for being here. Hey, so now, usually about this time is when we get this raffle going. But before we do this raffle, I want Andy to come up here, Dan.